Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's always a good opportunity to come and see everyone on this weekly program. And today has been an interesting day for me. The topic today is about the seeds of the mind. So I think it connects to, it's strange that today was very, didn't plan for it to happen, of course, but it somehow connects with the topic. And I think it's very important because my master and all the teaching monks that also tutor me on meditation, they always ask me a simple question every week, is that when you meditate, have you found the happiness within? How is the happiness within right now? Not where is your meditation at? What do you see? So and so. It's always about how is the happiness inside. Not the meaning the true happiness, meaning that the happiness that you can answer for yourself, that when you sit and you get to that feeling yet, that's the most important thing. He always emphasizes that. And whenever we go for an inner peace mission or go overseas, go different things, the first question that's asked is that happiness still there? Is the brightness of your mind still there? And then before I was like, I understand to a certain level that is very important. But when things happen, you see that, it is very important. Because like today, it's a pretty shocking day for me as well as because it's like losing a brother or losing a family member. Because I just realized that one of the monks that I look up to and is like a leader in my group decided to disrobe. And it was such a shock to myself, such a shock to everyone. And then that made me reflect on, it's very important to keep your inner happiness. It's very important to maintain the seeds of the mind to be in growing the right seeds. And sometimes we don't realize it until it's too late, that as the seeds get overgrown and there's more pressures, there's more different obstacles coming into life, it can be dangerous even for a monk to get lost. So it's very important for us that we're living in daily life, even more so to maintain the seeds of the mind, to be very in the right seeds growing, rather than who knows what's growing in our mind. In the beginning, we don't know, and then we'll start to notice it when it's starting to influence what we say and what we do. And it's very unfortunate to see, because you know how good that person is, and then as they get lost and they get covered up with those negative seeds, and then they end up making a decision that is so permanent. So, yeah, unfortunately, you see that I'm not as happy as normal, because it's very shocking to see that, someone that you look up to, who is, your senior, and also, I would say one of the best of us. But even the best, if they don't maintain themselves, is also, that's why it's also very important to be as a team, because you never know when, if you run out of energy, you need someone to also remind you and keep you going. But what I was going to mention today about the seeds is that as you meditate, we need to take the time to maintain the happiness of your mind every time you meditate, because when you narrow it down, even though I just mentioned that it's important to have a team, but when you narrow it down, the most important person that you need to rely on is yourself. Because the person that's always going to be there for you is your own mind, is your own self. The person that will never let you down unless you let yourself down is your mind, right? So you may have different support system around you, which is also important, but the most important support system is yourself. And that's why the Buddha always mentioned that you have to help yourself. You have to be able to answer yourself, are you in the position that you can help yourself yet? And that's so important, that when you meditate and you find the happiness inside, that is the most important support that you can have. And luckily for us, if you practice correctly, that support will keep coming. That support will keep growing. And it will follow you and go with you everywhere. You don't need to pack it up. You don't need to bring it with, you don't need to, it automatically happens. You don't have to, let me pack up the happiness and get on the plane and travel there, or go to work, it's gonna automatically stay with you. That's why it's so special. Every time you meditate and you find that glimpse of happiness, or many glimpses of happiness, and to the point where you feel overflowing with happiness. And then that overflowing of happiness, it will pour out into the words you say, the things you do automatically. And if it runs out, you can fill it up again by meditating. That's the most wonderful thing about it. But sometimes if you don't remind yourself every week, every day when you sit to meditate, am I finding that happiness or not? Am I being able to still reach to that feeling, connect to that feeling? And that's very essential to live a positive and happy life, is to have that inner brightness shining, that inner positivity within you. And it's important to keep it. It's important to keep it, because the moment you start to run out of it and you're still in a position where you have to give it, that's dangerous for you, because you're giving something that you don't have anymore. And if you give something that you don't have anymore, eventually you're going to have to take from something else inside of you, until you keep giving and giving and giving, and then you have nothing. You're going to feel like you have nothing. And that's when you're going to feel lost and feel all the negativity coming all at once, because you're giving what you don't have. So it's like when you don't have it anymore, you have to take something else out of you. Take something else out of you, take something else out of you, and then just get to the point where you're empty, and you get even more and more empty. So it's very dangerous. We need to keep the seeds in our mind and keep them in a positive way. So to look at it physically first, or in a more cause and effect way, the seeds that we do in our mind are very important, but I'm sure we all heard the quote, like we reap what we sow. So just to think of it as deeds, cause and effect, we have positive and negative that are in our field of deeds mentally. So it's very important what kind of seeds we plant, and they also have different benefits, right? The time and the results can vary. Just like in life, if you plant an apple tree, it takes longer to grow, but it can give fruit repeatedly far longer. You have to be more patient with that seed. But in the long run, you have a tree that's producing the apples every year, but you may have to wait longer for it to happen. Or as a field of rice, it grows faster, but it has to be planted every day, every harvest. So you only get one harvest, and you have to plant it again and work at it again next year. So one is takes longer, but the fruit you get is more continuous. Another one is faster, but it's only one harvest. So every action eventually will have a consequence. So if we're not talking about the mind, and this is talking about just what you say, what you do, you can look at it at like this. So it's very important that sometimes we feel like, oh, I did something good and I haven't seen the benefit yet. Or sometimes I did something bad and I haven't seen the result yet. Think of it as this. Was it an apple or did you plant the field of rice? When is it going to happen? You don't know. So ideally, we should plant and do the thing that is plant more good seeds, and we'll know that eventually that the result at the time is going to grow, it's going to happen, and we never know when is it going to happen. So the probability for it to happen, we can control by planting more good seeds. The bad seeds, we also may be conscious that we planted them, but hopefully we can plant more good seeds than bad seeds. And eventually our field will be more good than bad. And luckily for us, every time we meditate, that's how we get those bad seeds out. So that's why it's so important to meditate every day, because if we don't, those bad seeds are also mixed in that field. And we don't want those to grow, right? And if they do allow it to grow, it's going to take up space, it's going to take up nutrients, it's going to take up from the good seeds. And that's going to make our mind a very crowded place to be. And so we need to be careful what we're planting in our mind. What's the benefit? And also not just mentally, but what we do and we say also has impact on what we plant in our mind. The greed, the anger, the delusion, we can reduce that by, generosity. We can reduce that by what we say and what we do as well. But also all that starts from inside first. We have to have our mind in a good place before we start to put the action forward to say and do good things, right? And we need to really make sure and maintain the negativity so it doesn't grow and doesn't overgrow and take the nutrients away from the good seeds you planted. That's very important as well. So right now, sorry. As we meditate, luckily for us, when we meditate, it speeds up. It speeds up the process of the growing of the positivity within you. So it's very I would say that in life, it's kind of unfair in the sense that we have the opportunity we're planted with good and bad inside of us. So it's unfair in the sense that, why do we have this inside of us? Like, I am sure we all want to be born and we have only goodness in us, right? But unfortunately, we have a sickness inside of us where we feel we can also think bad, right? We've all thought bad before, we've all done bad before. It's because inside of us, we have the bad seeds as well. And inside of us, we also have the good seeds. So it's very much up to us what seeds are we going to allow to grow, and what seeds are we going to nurture and look after and let it continue to grow until it bears fruit, or are we going to allow the negative seeds to grow? And the way for us to kind of check is when you look back to yourself and you look throughout the day. It's a good tip that Kun Yai would say, is that before you go to sleep, you have to sit and kind of reflect on the day and think of what are the good things you did today and what are the negative things, and see which one outweighs the other. Did you think more positive today or did you think more negative today, for example? And if you look back and, I was stressed the whole day or I felt negative the whole day, you can look for yourself, okay, yeah. It's not a good path to go down. We need to start tomorrow better. We need to work out tomorrow to be better than today. And also, at least tonight, let me sleep on a negative, or get that negative out of my mind so I don't sleep on that negative note. So she would sit until she felt calm and then neutral, and then no more negativity in her mind, then go to sleep. And make the resolution that the next day, I'm going to do better, to think more positive than negative. So the scale is going back to positive. So the scale is going back to more allowing space in the mind to only have positivity. And this is what going back to my master's asking about when you meditate, oh, do you sit and do you find happiness inside or not? Because that's more important than anything else. If you have happiness inside, that happiness is gonna influence you to continue to be a good person, continue to be a positive influence on yourself and also around with the people around you. I like to say that the true source of all positivity, it grows inside. You need to go to that source and allow it to grow first. Allow it to be inside of you first, and then everything else is gonna follow. But if you're allowing negativity to grow in your mind, before you know it, the roots of negativity are gonna get deeper and deeper, and they're gonna spread, and they're gonna sprout. It's like a fungus. It's gonna be all over the place, and anyone who's ever had a fungus problem, it's very hard to get out. You need to use very strong, detergent or bleach to get it completely out. And that's the dangerous thing when you have negativity in your mind. If you allow it to take root, allow it to spread, it's very hard to get out right away. But if we meditate every day, we can make sure to keep that negativity that we have inside of us at bay, and then eventually you can actually banish it. But we're not at that level yet. We're not at that level yet I never think negative, I never get angry, I never get jealous, I never get so-and-so, right? We all have a moment of that, or many moments of that. So yes, we're still normal people, we're still practicing, we're still looking after our mind together. So that's why it's so important to come join this group, come join and meditate every day, because we have to look after that and make sure it's, not too much, and allow the positive seeds to grow. I really love the proverb. I think you saw it before. They mentioned about, I think it's from Native Americans, but I'm not really sure originally if it's from or not. But just saw it on the internet where it says inside of us there's two wolves, a good wolf and a bad wolf. And the one that wins is the one you feed the most, right? So similar to the idea of the seeds. So up to us. Let's take some time to grow those good seeds by meditating. And in doing so, the good fruit will come as well. But all change begins from within. So luckily, we're going to the source and we're maintaining the source. So I think that's the most important thing to remind yourself. Every time you come and meditate, you're taking care of your mind, you're taking care of the most important thing in your life. I know we have so many things that are important, but the most important thing in your life, you should feel like it's yourself first, your mind first, because that's the thing that's always going to be there for you. And that's the thing that you take with you everywhere. So you should look after that first. And in turn, you can do everything else and look after everything else that we love and we care about. So I don't know if that made sense today. So if you have any questions or would like to share your ideas, please feel free. And then we can take some time to meditate together.